Could everybody's attention, please? At this time, I'd like to call Revere Traffic Commission Public Hearings meeting to would everybody please stand and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we're going to start the agenda out of order. I'm going to take item number 5, and this is to deal with the North Revere issues at Overlook Ridge. And this is a public hearing to review the traffic mitigation recommendation for Rose Quarry site plan. Mr. Rupp.
Thank you. Frank Stringy is away on a personal matter. So he asked me to come up and speak on this as the city's consultant on the Overlook Ridge project for a long time, since the beginning. Basically, Malden has done a site plan review process for another building proposed and requested that Roseland go back and revisit the traffic studies done several years ago. And then they had a peer review done. They've come up with 11 recommendations for traffic improvements. 7 of them are in Malden, 4 in Revere. I think you have the list in your motion of the Revere ones. And the Malden Traffic Commission has endorsed the 7 in Malden and supports the 4 in Revere. And the hope is that you would do the same, vote the 4 in Revere and support the 7 in Malden. And then we will make the developer adhere to that. Michelle Romero is the city planner of Malden. She can speak a little more specifically to the improvements.
As this is a public hearing, we'll have both sides. At this time, I will call proponents, people in favor of this, these suggested changes.
Thank you. Michelle Romero, City Planner for the City of Malden, 110 Pleasant Street, Malden, Mass. Thank you for meeting with us today again. If I could just briefly, as part of my statement in support of this, as Mr. Rupp just said, there's a proposal before the Malden Row Quarry Site Plan Review Committee for the new proposal at that project, which is all located in Malden, 3 new buildings, 324 units. On February 7, 2018, the committee tabled the decision to allow the petitioner to attend a joint meeting of the Malden Traffic Commission and Revere Traffic Commission so that we could present the proposed recommendation. This is safety and traffic mitigation measures. As this Commission's familiar, and I want to thank you again for your time on February 22nd, 2018, when we appeared before you. You were here, the Revere Traffic Commission, and the Malden Traffic Commission was also here, so we did that joint meeting where we presented all the safety and traffic mitigation that's recommended by the committee. I have a copy. I believe everybody was given copies of everything previously. If anybody would like to see another copy, you would like me to submit a full copy for the record at this time, I can. Basically, what was included was a memorandum to both traffic commissions from me that described the traffic and safety mitigation. It was a spreadsheet that had the 11 locations. We went through those in length at the meeting in February. It also had a map detailing the locations. There were also some additional documents that included the plan for the traffic signalization at the Overlook Ridge Site Drive with Salem Street. It included the signal warrant information and analysis. It included cost estimates for that signal. It also included the Mass DOT highway pavement marking plan for that area, and also the Overlook Ridge Master Plan. So I do have that. If you'd like, I could submit another copy for the record. If you have your copies, that's fine too. And if I could briefly just also mention, as part of this presentation, or part of this statement of support, I do have copies of just the spreadsheet if people wanted to see that. I also have copies, and I would like to submit for the record of the Malden Traffic Commission meeting that was held on March 20th, 2018. And I have copies of the individual motion, and if I could read that into the record. The request, I'm sorry, let me make sure I have the right copy here. So this was a meeting March 20th, 2018. Mr. Rupp referred to what the Malden Traffic Commission did at this meeting, and specifically, this was a request made by the city engineer, Yem Lip, who also sits on the Traffic Commission. He was here that night for the joint meeting, and the motion and vote was on the following. This was regarding the Traffic Commission to review the traffic mitigation recommendations for the Row Quarry site plan. And it reads, after discussing this request and hearing the concerns of Chief Finn, who is our fire chief, who sits on the Traffic Commission, in regards to only one means of access egress to the area, a motion was made by Mr. William Coleman, who is our DPW representative, seconded by Chief Finn, and unanimously voice voted to approve and endorse the mitigation for the site plan based on the stipulation that it also include an alternate means of access egress for the residents and for emergency vehicles. So I'd like to, at this time, if I could, submit this to the clerk, the minutes of the meeting that were posted with the Malden City Clerk. I have a couple extra copies if the group would like to see it, or the commissioners would. I'd also like to submit this, which was the original package of information you received in February. And I believe that was everything. Thank you. I was going to submit, or I can hand you these two if you wanted to look at the 11 locations. No, that's different. Those are, yes, I do have a couple extras here. These are 2 extras, yes. And actually, I thought I had another extra 2. This is, I'm sorry, this is incomplete, so I don't want to give you this one. I think I copied the wrong page. Sorry about that. So, with that, we're here before you to ask for your support of the Malden measures and also for your endorsement of the locations in Revere, which are, I believe, numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5 on that spreadsheet. And finally, I'll just update you with, we've been in contact with Mass DOT. We have not scheduled the meeting yet. That was the other piece of, the other part of the recommendation by the Malden Site Plan Review Committee was that after we go to the Malden Traffic Commission and Revere Traffic Commission, the petitioner obtain Mass DOT review and approval for the proposed recommended traffic and safety mitigation where it falls into their jurisdiction, and there are a couple of those locations that do. We are also committed to assist facilitating all these meetings, meeting with local, state, and federal officials. So after this, we would be moving to schedule the meeting with Mass DOT, pending their approval, review and approval, as well as this commission's review and approval. We would then schedule the next meeting of the Row Quarry Site Plan Review Committee, where we would take up all the recommended mitigation that's been approved and move, the committee would be in a position then to consider granting the approvals for the project, subject to conditions of the developer complying with all the recommended mitigation. I will add that as a final note, that the developer has agreed to implement all the recommended mitigation. And if anybody has any questions,
Chief Gatto.
When you were here last, we discussed a couple of things. One, the fully operating traffic signals, we all agreed that for now we would put them on flashing and only have the pedestrian walk button be activated. So I would like that to be in the agreement. And number 2, I requested that heading down Salem Street from Saugus towards the entrance, that a signal ahead sign be placed. And then we talked about the 2-way beacons could possibly just be the yellow sign showing a curve ahead, and put the money towards the signal ahead sign at the top of the turn before you head down to the traffic signal. So those were all things we discussed. And I believe Roseland was here, and they agreed to that. So I would like, if we're going to vote on this tonight, that this be amended to include those changes.
We're fine with that. I mean, we do recall the discussion and the developer agreeing to it. So whatever you want to make put in your recommendation, we'll be happy to receive that.
I'd also like to hear from the ward council too before we
Thank
make
you.
any decisions.
Everybody will have, where this is a public hearing, everybody will have a chance to speak on the matter, whether they're a proponent or an opponent. So at this time, do you have any more questions for the young lady, Jimmy?
No.
Because they were,
No, that's okay.
the discussion did take place, and that was a major part of the discussion that we held. And there was also some talk asking the developer to do something possibly with a bus turnaround so that people didn't have to actually cross over Lynch Street to the other side, and I don't see where that's been addressed at all. It's not even mentioned in any of what I've only had a brief chance to just take a brief look at it, but it doesn't seem that it's been mentioned here at all. And I think that was all part of the flashing light routine to keep the traffic moving. And
Yeah, we didn't, that's the same material that you received before. We didn't add, I wasn't sure how the process went, and I understood that you would be, preparing your recommendations and adding to it. That is the same material. We did not update it to reflect anything because we didn't understand that you had officially voted to do it, so we weren't trying to take over anybody's
we
job.
understand.
But I totally agree, all that was discussed and mentioned and is part of the record.
Okay. All right, so at this point, we have an amendment requested by Chief Guido that the light be, instead of installing a fully operational traffic signal at Salem Street or Overlook Ridge, we put one in that's a flashing light that allows pedestrian crossing signal to stop traffic in the event that pedestrians want to cross the street. Is that correct, Chief?
Well, I believe they were going to install full set of traffic signals, but we would only utilize the flashing
Okay.
until we saw the necessity to fully activate them.
You got that, Chris? Okay. Okay. So I'll just read off the four line items that are here for the agenda this evening. And A was to install a fully operating traffic signal on Salem Street at Old Electric Drive. The second one was for 122 Salem Street to install a beacon facing north. Third was Salem Street, Liberty Ave to install a two-way beacon, and Salem Street and Frederick Street to install a two-way beacon was number 4. And Jimmy, you had said to add a couple more signs. Chris, did you get it? You got it. Okay.
Thank
One more question.
Yeah.
Do you know if the pedestrian signal buttons, are they ADA compliant for the countdowns?
I would imagine that they would
I
be, or
think they'll
Mass
need to
DOT
be,
or more
yeah.
than ourselves would, would.
I think it has to be up to current
Right.
standards, any new
Yeah,
equipment
right.
installed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, are there any more proponents, people who wish to speak in favor of this proposal? Council Patch.
Yeah, Charlie Patch, 44 Johnny Road, Ward 6 Councilor. I'm a proponent now if the amendment that Chief Gatto puts in, that it goes on, the lights go on flashing. I know we had a lot of discussion on that at the meeting in February with the Malden Traffic Commission. Also, as far as with the, you brought up the turnaround for the buses up in the Overlook itself. Councilor Janino and myself put a motion in that's in Boston now to see if they would approve that. So we haven't heard it. It's been there for.
Who are you waiting to hear from, Council Patch? You waiting to hear from Mass DOT or the MBTA?
I believe she sent it into the Mass Dot,
Okay.
but I'll check on that for you. the city clerk, that is, sent it in. Also, again, I just want to make sure that we have, we take care of who's going to pay for the cost of maintenance. I believe Overlook said that they'll pay for it, but I don't know if they mentioned anything about maintaining it after it's up. It's going to be it's going to be on Revere, the Revere side, so I guess we're going to have to maintain it, unless you know better.
I know what it's going to cost.
That's about it. I mean, as far as, I tried, before this even developed with Malden, I tried getting, several times I tried to get a pedestrian light up there. And I almost had them about 3 years ago, but they wanted us to give up the hotel to put the pedestrian light in, which ain't gonna happen. So I was unsuccessful there. But this will be good if we keep it flashing, and hopefully, like I say, I'll be a proponent as long as we go along. You go along with the chief's amendment. Thank you.
Paul, could you answer the question whether the maintenance cost for the signalization is part of the development plan, or it's not? Once the signalization is installed, whether
I don't know, what's the...
Overlook Ridge is going to maintain the signalization in the event that it gets hit by a car, or,
Yeah, that's-
and it's more than likely that's going to happen in that location. That's why they're putting the signal up to begin with. I know it's set back off the road, but
That's a good question. I don't know what the usual practice is for such things, but whatever it is, you should,
well, the usual practice is whatever we
There you go.
negotiate and we agree to is what the practice usually is.
Then
And
I
the
would
request of this commission is that Overlook Ridge
There
does
you go.
maintain the cost of maintaining that signal.
perfect. I would ask that you also add to your motion what Malden did, asking them to study a second means of egress, at least for emergency vehicles. So,
Is there any site-specific locations they want the second means of egress?
I've looked at the site, and I think that it's possible, but I don't want to get into the details at this point. Make them have the traffic engineer look at it and report back.
Okay. Okay, fine.
Mr. Chairman,
Chief Guido.
one of the reasons why I was for the full signalization, because it would probably cut down on the chance of a motor vehicle striking the lights where they'll be overhead. And if we just did pedestrian signals, they would just be little poles in the corner, and they'd be constantly getting knocked over.
Thank you, Chief. Any other proponents? Name and address for the record, please. Thank
Hi,
you.
I'm Deborah Burke, the Executive Director of the Malden Redevelopment Authority, a member of Site Plan Review Committee, and also the representative for Mayor Gary Christensen in Malden. So just wanted to go on record, having been associated with this project for, I guess, as long as Paul Rupp, so we've had the pleasure of working together that long, that on record of supporting all the recommended traffic mitigation improvements. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other proponents? People in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this proponents? Seeing, hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing and open it up to opponents. Any opponents, people who wish to speak in opposition to this plan? Seeing, hearing none, I will close this and open it up to members of the commission. Members.
Mr. Chairman, just a question for Paul or Ms. Ramiro. I know that you don't have comments back from Mass DOT quite yet, that's right. Do you expect that their comments would significantly change what we're talking about implementing today?
I don't expect there to be any significant changes. I think that they will be looking to see your recommendations as well as the City of Malden's recommendations, and I believe those will weigh heavily with the Mass DOT. which was one of the reasons we thought it would be, the best strategy to take this step by step, do the joint meeting, talk to you, together, explain everything, have the developer have the chance to explain as well, and then go back and, giving both commissions time to think of it, look at the improvements, discuss them, and then move forward to Mass DOT. So I think when we present the process that was followed and your recommendations and support and the city of Malden's, I think that there should be, positive response. I don't know if Paul has anything to add to that. or-
Chief Guido.
Mr. Chairman, I think we should take this in two parts. I'll make a motion that we give a favorable recommendation on the Malden, that we support the things that are going to happen in Malden. That there's nothing that we disagree with. So I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Chief Guido to support all issues that are affiliated with the Malden side of this issue. Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. So at this time, we'll take up the Revere side of the issue. Any members have any questions regarding the four remaining issues that we're to deal with here this evening?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to amend that further by stating that this, if it does go through, it's barring any very significant changes that DOT looks to implement after it gets past the Malden and the Revere Board.
Okay. So we'll take all four issues, and at this time, we have a motion to approve as amended by Chief Guido and Engineering Reichstrom. To vote.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to take them one at a time, and I want to make sure we have the amendments right.
Okay.
A would be install fully operating signals on Salem Street that will remain unflashing and cannot be altered from flashing unless a vote of the traffic commissions, I guess our traffic commission, and that the pedestrian part of the signalization be activated at all times. And also, as part of A, that a signal ahead, which would indicate a red signal ahead, be installed on Salem Street, on the blind corner coming from Saugus, indicating there's a signal ahead.
Okay, on item A.
I don't know if B is the beacon. I don't think the beacon is what I'm referring to. I think the beacon's like a flashing yellow light that shows a turn ahead. So I guess maybe at 122 Salem, we could replace that with a signal ahead sign. I'm not sure.
Okay, so,
Or add to it.
okay, so right now, if we're going to take them all separately, let's stay with the fully operated traffic signal. I have a motion as amended by Chief Guido to install the fully operating signal on Salem Street with conditions specified by Chief Guido. Do we have
Second.
all those in favor? Ayes, the ayes.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item A. Item B is 122 Salem Street, install a beacon facing north. Any comments from the members?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to agree with Part B with the addition of, as Chief Guido had stated, an additional signal that says something to the effect of red signal ahead. But that be an addition, not a replacement.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, the ayes have it, as amended by Chief Guido and Engineer Reichstrom. Item number C is Salem Street at Liberty Avenue, install a two-way beacon.
Mr. Chairman, is there
Got it.
beacons presently there now?
What's that?
Because I don't want to put flashing yellow lights and then bother the neighbors, so,
There's one
so I'm
there.
talking about the new ones. So I guess if there's any neighborhood opposition, we could leave a caveat that it could be changed to a curb sign. Okay, but if it's existing now, then I don't see the problem. But if we go add one in front of someone's house, it could cause a problem. It's constantly going 24 hours a day. And you'll see the light in the window flashing constantly.
I think there are curb signs now.
Hmm?
I think there are curb signs now.
They have, we, right, I agree. You know, so,
Actually, Mr. Chairman, I think that the bright yellow curve ahead reflective signs are more than adequate for 2 out of 3 of these. And then you're gonna have the signal ahead at the main turn coming down the hill, so maybe we could revisit this, B, C, and D.
Donnie, I'm in a meeting, everything okay? Oh, okay, all right.
How about I make a substitute motion that,
Just for the record, they've been before us in the past at Fenwick and at Liberty, trying to get flashing lights there to slow the cars
For
down.
years, yeah.
So the way this is presented right now is it's gonna work out in the neighbor's best interest as presented. Because
Okay.
they have been asking us
Yeah,
for it.
I-
Okay.
We got signage on there, we just improve it more.
okay.
To put the signage in the beacon.
They've been asking for years.
They have. Yeah. So item number C, Salem Street, Liberty Ave, to install a two-way beacon. Do I have a motion to approve? Second. All those in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. Item C is been approved. Item number D is Salem Street, Fenwick Street to install a two-way beacon. What is the wishes of the members?
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, I'd like to add a fifth item to this. Is looking over this here, I see there's a request from Fire Chief Finn in the city of Malden regarding a second means of egress. So at this time, I make a motion that we ask the developer to get back to the city with potential access or area where a second means of egress could be put forward on the project in order to improve public safety. So,
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Ayes, the ayes have it. Chris, did you get that? Okay. Item
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do represent the area, and I certainly would support that. Thank you.
Any other proponents? Seeing, hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing, open to opponents. Any opponents, people who wish to speak in opposition? Seeing, hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing, open up to, Ralph, you, want to do this?
Just to reiterate, these are the ones that we had carried over from last month, and I think I made my determinations last month.
We put them on emergency basis.
Yeah, right.
So
So,
we're just gonna hold on with this.
yep, yep, I'm all set.
So at this time, we have no issue with handicap. Here's the director. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, do I have a second? Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. 31 Lowell Street. At this time, I'm going to open it up to proponents. Any proponents, people who wish to speak in favor? Seeing, hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing and open up to opponents. Any opponents? Seeing, hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing and open it up to members of the commission. Members of the commission.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, the ayes have it. Number 8, Pierce Street. I'm going to open up this side of the hearing to proponents. Any proponents? Seeing, hearing none, I'll close that side of the issue and open it up to opponents. Any opponents? Seeing, hearing none, I will close that side of the issue and open it up to members of the commission. Members of the commission.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. All three are approved. Item number 2 is amend Title 10 by adding a bike ordinance as follows. Do you want me to read the whole,
Waive the reading.
waive reading? Okay. I'll open up this side of the public hearing to proponents, people who wish to speak in favor. Mr. Morrow.
Julie DeMauro, Healthy Community Initiatives Office. This is just a request to amend Title 10 by adding bike ordinances as follow. It is just to designate what a bicycle and bike path, bike lane, bike boxes, and shared lane bicycle markings or SHARO will mean to the city of Revere and what we will allow in terms of infrastructure. It's just to kind of develop some formality around these terms in our traffic chapter.
Okay. Any other proponents? Those who wish to speak in favor of this change? Seeing, hearing none, I'll close that side of the issue and open it up to opponents. Any opponents? People who wish to speak against this amendment? Seeing or hearing none, I'll open up the members of the commission. Members? Have a second?
Mr. Chairman, just a quick question prior to the vote. Mr. Morrow, the second one where you're defining bicycle, it talks about vehicles with 18 inches of diameter or more. Wouldn't that include smaller bicycles too?
And bicycle, the
Section 1?
the first one, the bicycle needs every device propelled, that
Yeah.
one?
Correct.
Yes, so that would be, so that would be the standard adult size bike wheel. So it couldn't be, so basically what we're saying is that it has to be propelled by human power and the wheels can't be any bigger than 18 or more. So it has to be a regular bike. So anything that is, extended tires or anything like that, or motorized, it would not be considered a bicycle. It would be, or electric powered, it would be considered like a scooter, or something along those natures. Is that what you're asking? I mean,
I know, so I'm thinking that maybe the designation of the size of the wheel maybe be amended so that it can include smaller and slightly bigger wheels Because there are bicycles that are 20 inches maybe versus a bicycle that's 14, the wheels.
So you clarify that definition of the wheel size? So it would be
So it's
any-
less restrictive? So it includes more of a range of bicycles?
Just as a point of information, it does read 18 inches or more. I think it's probably a safety factor. You don't want tricycles riding in the street or children's bicycles alongside cars and stuff like that.
Well,
It's
so, I
probably
mean,
a
it's
visibility
18
issue, I'm guessing.
So
That's
it's
where the
18 inches or more, so we wouldn't want, and we only want 2 wheels, we don't want, I mean, I think it's, if anything, it would allow you to accommodate wheel size that's less than 18 inches, but 18 inches is the standard size for an adult bikes. I mean, we'd have children's bikes, adult bikes, but I can amend it if you want to kind of include different wheel type. What I don't want to see is, something that's like an electric bike, which is coming into place. We want to make sure that we have, that it is human-powered only without any type of electrical assist.
So do we even need a wheel size?
Well, I think you do, as Chief Wright suggested. You don't want somebody out there with a 10-inch tire that's got a kid's, 10, 12, 8 years old driving in traffic on Broadway. So I think this is kind of, this is designed for basically young adults and older, not designed for small children because most of the bicycle routes that we're putting in the streets are not, we do have bike paths that anybody can drive on, but, you don't want to create a situation where you've got, a 7, 8, 10-year-old kid driving up and down a bike lane on Broadway and that type of traffic that exists. So I think the 18 probably is a pretty standard bicycle.
Yes, so, I mean, I can amend it if you want to. The only thing about so technically, this is for the next section. So if I have a 10-year-old and he wants to ride on the street, by law, he can. He
I
can.
understand that.
Yeah.
But you're not looking to encourage it either.
I would not encourage that, but by law, they have the right to ride on the street.
Right. But when I read this, it restricts somebody who's riding a bike with a wheel smaller than 18 inches from it being classified a bicycle and being able to use the bike lane. Right, it's restricting to 18 inches or more. So if a kid has the right to use the bike lane, then maybe they can't because their bike's too small.
I would have to look into the Mass General law on that. I'm not so sure we can restrict it that far. I mean, that would
I
need.
agree, I don't think you should restrict it.
Okay,
But
right.
to me, there's a little bit of confusion in that, the way it's defined, so maybe it's something to look into.
Okay,
further.
I can look into that.
Any other questions from members of the commission? Seeing, hearing none, do I have a motion? Do we have a motion to approve as amended by Engineer Reichner?
Motion to approve as amended.
Second, all those in favor?
Second?
Aye, the ayes have it. You're all set, Julie. Okay, item number 3 is to amend Schedule 8 of Title 10, parking restrictions, generally by adding Hitchborn Street on the easterly side, Lieber, Bank Highway, Franklin Ave, and the type of parking will not be permitted. There's no parking anytime. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Ira Novoselsky, 53 Dehone Street, Ward 2, Councilor. Gentlemen, this was brought to my attention by several neighbors that this area of Hitchborn Street between the Lee Burbank Highway and Franklin Avenue is really not wide enough for two-sided parking. And we noticed that even more so during the winter when the snow was plowed and the cars weren't moved. So the snow was out and it was very dangerous for cars coming both ways. So it was, we're requesting that we eliminate the parking on one side of the street. There's only 2 houses across the street. Both houses have driveways and parking areas, and there is parking in front of their homes. And I've noticed over the last 2 weeks, there's only 1 or 2 cars that normally park on that east side of the street. So we're requesting that that side be eliminated, for no, made for no parking, and we have plenty of space, especially the way the cars come off the highway. They move pretty fast coming around there on the southbound side.
Mr. Chairman.
Chief Guido.
Counselor, all the times I've driven there, I see the people parked on the easterly side, but I've never seen anyone parked on the westerly side.
The westerly side is the side where the homes are.
Right.
Yeah, I've
So
seen
is-
both.
So there's room for parking on one side or the other.
Well, what we're doing is restricting it to one side. To make
Right,
it,
but
to
the
make it the
point is
westerly
now we're
side.
gonna move everybody over to the westerly side. No one really parks there right now, I think.
Well, it depends when you go by.
I think
Chief.
what we should do on the easterly side, though, is the first, when you come off the highway, maybe block out at least one space. But the spaces further down towards Franklin Ave don't seem to be.
I
bothering
understand what
anyone.
you're saying, but, to extend that no parking from here to corner limit, because now it's 20 feet, and we did it 10 feet from the driveway of the used car lot.
Yeah, it's a blank corner there.
And
Yeah.
it could be done, but based on what I've seen, especially during the wintertime with the snow, it's very difficult to park
So
on
why
both
don't we
sides,
just make it during snow emergency?
you know.
Just add it to the snow emergency
I don't think the
streets.
residents are inclined to, I've talked to a lot of residents up in the area, Jimmy, they're kind of adamant about what's going on. I think what's happening, I don't want to speak for the residents, but what I'll say is that the majority of the people that go and park there, or the majority of the people that want to take the shortcut off of the highway, park there and walk over to the apartment building, instead of going down and parking in the parking that's allotted for the building. So what you have is you're creating a dangerous situation under certain circumstances, because the people who live in the apartment building are too lazy to go down to Bell Circle, come back up Pitchmore Street and park underneath where their designated parking
You're
is.
probably right,
I
Mr.
talked
Chairman.
to the people that live there.
Because what
about it, yeah.
happened, I had a couple people that were cleaning up outside, and they asked me to move that do not enter sign about 40 feet down the
Down.
street so they can get into their driveway.
Right.
And I know that's very difficult to do, especially with a one-way
You
street.
know, and especially if somebody's coming home, say, 6, 7 o'clock at night, they don't want to deal with the traffic going down, and they don't want to go down the one-way to cut in, so they just park there. So I think this will either force them to, go down and come around the way the traffic pattern has been designed, and it will eliminate
I'll find
an issue.
another street to park on.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think if we force them around, obviously, the easiest thing for them to be is going to park in their own parking lot, because once they come around, there'll be no need to go beyond it.
With all due respect to the chief, I really have seen some dangerous situations when people will park on both sides.
Yeah, and for
Even
us-
whether it be snow weather or
Yeah, the
regular
snow
weather.
removal's hard.
Counselor, I'll yield to you at your ward,
Thank you very much, chief, I appreciate it.
but I still don't agree on the other snow emergency area. We'll discuss that later.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Any other proponents, people who wish to speak in favor? Name and address for the record, please.
Joseph Cole, 250 Campbell Ave, Revere. And I agree with everything the counselor said. I don't agree with the chief. If you allow one car on that side, it'll fill that side. And it tends to be lately that if there's one car on that side, it's as far up to the no parking to the corner as possible. And it just makes that whole corner awkward. You've also got the blind lip coming up Pitchbourne. And today, as it happened, I happened to come off Lee Burbank twice. There was no cars on the easterly side. It was such a pleasure. Not have to worry about that. It's just, if with two sides of parking and two-way traffic, you haven't got room for 4 cars across. It's 3 1/3 at the most. It's just the reality of the street itself. So I would like to see no parking on the easterly side. And if it is agreed, to have it marked on the street in yellow, as well as a sign or two. That's all I have.
Any more proponents, people wishing to speak in favor? Seeing, hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing, open it up to opponents. Any opponents? Seeing, hearing none, I will close that side of the hearing, open it up to members of the commission. Members,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
do I have a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye, the ayes have it. Item number 4 is to amend commercial permit parking ordinance in the city of Revere to reduce the fee to 100 per year from $420. Any proponents?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Ira Novoselsky, 53 DeHaan Street, Ward 2 Counselor. I think it's a good idea. I've had, everybody knows my neighborhood is very dense, and there are a lot of single-owned business people that live there. And when I say that they're individuals, they have a small business, and I got, I'd say, many complaints from these small business people having to pay $420 for the parking. They didn't mind paying the $100. That's a little more reasonable. And I'm supporting them. I told them I thought it was a good idea. I knew the chief was coming up with it, and I think that they are willing to pay the $100. And we know the people live there. We know they're small business people, and we want to help them as much as possible. So appreciate what you can do for them. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Chief?
I think the original intent was for pickup trucks and regular vans, and not box trucks. I know we have the commercial laws, but there's still some trucks, vehicles that fall under that I'd rather they pay the $420 and try to discourage them from parking. So I would amend this to be for pickup trucks and normal vans, or whatever Sergeant Janino, how he wants to word it, but that was the original intent.
Yeah, but the box trucks can't park there anyways.
Okay,
They can't, anything over, this is for the 1 ton and less.
all right.
Allow them to park there. So we've taken it from.
So you're going to allow a 1-ton truck to park there?
1 ton or less.
Because now, getting back to
That's
what
my
Chief
point.
Guido says, that's his point. Because I have 1-ton dump trucks that I don't want being parked out in front of.
The way it's written up right now is if it has a gross vehicle weight of 10,000 pounds or less, it qualifies for a permit. If it weighs a gross vehicle weight of 10,001 pounds, it does not qualify for permit.
There are some dump trucks that are going to make that, they will meet that regulation. And then you,
250 HD is 10,000 pounds. A regular 350 comes in at 9,800 pounds
with nothing on it.
with 4 wheels.
Right.
No, gross vehicle weight. Has to be stamped in the door, gross vehicle weight.
Well, I get that, but you can put different bodies on those trucks.
Yes, but it has to be stamped as manufactured in the door with a tag on it, 10,000 or less.
Yeah, but, you're asking an officer or a traffic enforcement official to go out there and they don't open up the doors to see if there's a stamp before they ticket it.
As it works out now, they come by the station with a form, and one of the officers goes outside, open the door up, they look in the door, they write the weight down, they bring the form to City Hall.
And we give them the pass.
They
City Hall
give them a
turns-
permit,
They turn to
Jimmy?
City Hall,
No.
they get them the permit, based on what we observe on it.
And it'll have to be registered for that house.
No, they made it a business also, a business letter. We have people down the Pines that have businesses out of the city
Well,
that want to come back. This is why they made the permit to begin with anyways. to get rid
well,
of
the reason why they made the
multiple
permit to
vehicles.
begin with, because you had the cable companies, Xfinity, sending
Multiple vehicles.
15 and 20 vehicles into the city, parking all over the place. Now, if it's if it's a business that's owned and operated by somebody that resides in that building, but their business is at another location, I can understand that. But if you got somebody that's, operating their business out of Lynn or why would you allow them to bring off-street parking, take up off-street parking for the residents in the neighborhoods. That's my only concern, because the original intent of this motion was to keep those vans that meet this weight criteria from taking up residential parking. That's my only question, because this is one of those issues that are gonna come back around again, because once you lower the fee, then more trucks are gonna start coming in, and it's gonna be an issue.
That was not the intent. The intent was that if someone lives in their home and their vehicle's a pickup truck and it's their regular vehicle and their work vehicle, that they only pay $100.
Well, that's not an issue, so if it's their regular
So
work vehicle.
maybe we need to reword this a
Yeah,
little.
if it's their regular work vehicle and it's their personal vehicle, then it should be registered at that
At
address.
the address. I agree with that, and I agree with the
That was
chief.
my
Yes.
intent.
My
Yes.
only concern is that if the vehicle is registered at the address in question, I don't have a problem with it, because it would be, they live there, they work there. But if it's because, a business doesn't have adequate parking where they are, or take the truck home, so they got a car, the wife's car, the kid's car, now they got a truck out there that's registered in another community, I believe that's unfair.
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. It should be at the address.
I agree with Donnie, but also if someone's, say, the superintendent of Suffolk Construction, he has a take-home pickup truck, that is his vehicle. So we have to think about how we're gonna handle this. But I agree, we don't want all the cable trucks coming and FedEx trucks.
Because this is how it all started with the fee to begin with, because we were overburdened. Right, I agree.
If you go any other town around us, there's no commercial vehicles at all allowed in towns.
Right.
We allow them in that town at the fee, and it's been working, but they've been complaining about the price on it.
Right. Okay. Any other proponents? Seeing, hearing none, or opponents? Seeing, hearing none, other members of the commission, any input?
I'll make a motion to approve, and if it becomes a problem, we could always amend it again.
Do I have a second?
Question, if we do approve it, will it go in effect on January 1st of next year? Because this year's almost a quarter of the way through. And the people are repeat if it passes?
Well, I'm inclined not to vote for it anyway, so I don't know how the other,
Well, do you want to make stronger language? Amend it?
it's not here, it's not amended, it's, Yeah, yeah. Okay, do I have a motion?
Right, if we're going to make it January 1st, we have plenty of time.
I have a motion from Chief Bright, table until we can come up with stronger language.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, the ayes have it. Okay. Okay, now, under request, we have a lengthy agenda here, I guess. Okay. Yeah, okay. Item number 1 is a request from Councilor McKenna to amend Schedule 4 of Title 10, isolated stop signs, by adding the following locations: Endicott Ave, a 4-way stop sign at Atlantic Avenue; Jones Road for westbound traffic at Atlantic Avenue; George Avenue for westbound traffic at Jones Road. Item number 2 is a request from Council McKenna to amend Schedule 8 of Title 10, parking restrictions generally, at the following locations: Eaton Street, both sides at Beach Street, no parking here to corner 20 feet from the intersection. Item 2, location Billows Ave, both sides at Broad Sound Ave, no parking here to corner 20 feet from intersection. Location number 3 is State Road, change from 30-minute parking to 2-hour parking. Item number 3 is a request from Council McKenna to install dead-end signs at the following locations: Crystal Avenue, Belle Isle Avenue, Montfort Avenue, and Summer Street. Item number 4 is a request from Council Powers to amend Schedule 9 of Title 10, resident sticker parking areas, by adding Dunn Road. Council Powers, would you like to talk on this issue?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I have had numerous calls and notifications from the residents down on Dunn Road. And this is so important now, particularly now because the warm weather is coming and people are more apt to park their car and walk to Wonderland. And that's something we don't want to see happen because they're affecting the residents down there. So I would support this 100%.
I have no issue with this, Counselor. I see it all the time over there, and I did represent, it's been a problem for a long time.
Yep.
20 years ago it was a problem, and
Yep.
it's getting worse, I'm sure.
Much
And
worse.
the only issue I think here is that I think at some point in time, that whole area may need to go in that, because once you remove them from Dunn Road, they're just gonna move over.
Yeah, well, I agree.
Okay,
I mean,
so, but,
Sagamore and
I
Napontet
agree.
now
Yeah.
are all resident
yeah,
parking.
okay,
Thank you.
okay. Okay, so I'll move on, because these will all have to be moved to public hearing. Item number 5 is to amend Schedule 11, Title 10, handicap person parking areas by adding the following locations: 146 Constitution Ave. Item number 6 is to amend Schedule 11 of Title 10, handicap persons parking areas by removing 11 Hutchinson Street. So we can do I have a
Mr.
motion?
Chairman,
Yeah.
I know this is going to public hearing, but I don't understand the state road 30 minutes to 2 hours. I thought we changed it from 2 hours to 30 minutes.
Well, we have, Counselor.
So do you have any insight on that?
It's a request from the council that represents that area. I'm sure she's.
I realize that, but I thought we were trying to encourage parking for the businesses. I guess
That was the intent with the 30-minute parking, but I think whether you enforce a 30-minute or 2-hour, it allows maybe people to park there longer if it's 2-hour parking. So you're not encouraging the turnover for the business, so it has to be for some other reason. And I'm sure Council McKenna will come up and explain her reasons at the public hearing.
She called me an hour ago, she couldn't make the meeting tonight, and asked that we put a public hearing on it, she'll speak on it next time around.
But can we amend it in the public hearing to,
Yes.
like, say, an hour?
Yeah?
If
Yeah,
we
can.
need to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. At this time, do I have a motion to send everything to, Chris?
Motion.
I got a request on number 3,
Yeah?
the dead end signs. They're not in Title 10, it's just a request to have them put in, you just say put them in or don't put them in, it's up to you guys right now.
Right.
No public hearing needed.
No.
It's up to what you guys want to do.
Yeah.
What do you want?
It's fine with me. Okay, I have a motion.
Also, the case for the no parking here at the corner, isn't that standard 20 feet for, isn't that already on the
The way
books?
it's written up on the no parking in the corner is unless we dictate otherwise, we have parking meters within 20 feet of the corner, we allow it. It's up to us. This way here, if the car parks, we can tag the car. Have to put the sign up.
But the restriction, parking restriction already is on the books. It's just not saying.
All other items will be forwarded for a public hearing at our next regular business. And at this time, do we have any requests
Chairman.
for lates?
On the bicycles,
Yeah.
I don't think we addressed the second part of it. We need to
Oh, it's
vote
all
on that.
one ordinance, it's just section 2.
So all the bike lanes are all part of the original?
They're all part of this.
I just want the record to
Yeah,
reflect that.
Sure, yep, it does.
And Julie left, but I think she did a really good job on this. And she put a lot of time and effort into it.
Yeah, she put a lot of time.
And I just
in.
want to commend her.
Okay. Ralph, you have some late
Yeah, I have a
issues?
late thing, but I just want to also comment on number 6, 11 Hutchinson Street. He moved into another housing project, so that one, we can do the housing, we can do we can do the public hearing, but he's moved into another housing project where there's a handicap sign already.
Okay.
So we can, whenever that sign can come down.
just
I
take it
put it
down.
into the Revere 301, but a couple of late items that I
Might
wanted
be
to
done
discuss is 2325 Mill Street. The handicap sign keeps going back up. It was down, and there's no parking on the side. So I'm waiting for some calls that handicap signs are removed. I don't want to assume, but I have a funny feeling that the resident is putting up a handicap sign themselves. There's no parking on that side at all. So if we have to get the police involved, we'll get the police involved, but there should not be. I just drove by there again, and signs back up again, and I know it's come down. I spoke to Angelo. It's
Yeah.
come down twice already, and another
back
sign's
up.
gone back in its place.
Anyone in the back there?
No, it's,
I've never seen a car parked.
no,
They just don't, the issue is, it's a spite sign, and they don't want people parking there.
yeah,
Well, I
No.
get that,
I've never
I
seen a car
get that.
parked in 30 years.
right. Yeah, there's no parking on that side of the street.
It might have happened once or twice, and somebody got upset over it, so.
Yeah. The other two, and I've been putting them in the 3-1 systems, 29 Rumney Road. Sign has to be removed. It went through a public hearing.
Yeah.
And 39 Pitcairn Street. But from now on, what I've been doing to make it a lot easier on
It's throwing
everybody.
311.
I've been just throwing everything into 311 for all you guys.
Yeah, it's actually quicker if you do that,
Yeah.
Ralph, because we get it, if we go through the normal process.
No, it takes, yeah,
about
it takes
30
longer. This
days.
way it goes in
Right,
there.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to adjourn? I guess nobody wants to go home.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? Aye, the motion to adjourn is for. Thank you, everybody. See you next month.